Hey, beautiful souls. I'm Brooke. I am an intuitive Reiki Master. I'm also a channel for the divine. I am sitting here with Sara Ashley Astrology. Welcome.
Hey, Brooke. How are you today?
Good. How are you? I'm so happy to have you here with me.
I'm happy to be here with you. I just got off of my Instagram live not too long ago. I came on like later than usual because I slept like 16 hours last night or something. It's just like, I feel like we're integrating so much right now from like, there was a bunch of solar flares this weekend and it just like, it put me out and I'm listening to my body and I'm going through whatever integration needs to happen, especially during this Virgo season, which is all about healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was pulling up the Schumann just now to see. It's at 17 today, which is kind of low compared to what we've been seeing over the last 2 years. Really?
Yeah.
And I've noticed that once it gets really high like that, like I require a lot of sleep too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like stuff I wasn't aware of until recently. Like when I first learned about Schumann, I'm like, what is Schumann? I'm like, I know astrology, I know tarot, but Schumann, like, who is that? Like, that's what I thought, like, right away. So, like, the past, like, almost 2 years that I've, come out of the spiritual closet, went onto Instagram and Facebook, but, you probably know this, like, Facebook doesn't really get any traction anymore, but social media in general, I'll say, like, I've learned so much from so many different people, and I continue to find out new things every day. And, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, Instagram I feel like there's days that Instagram works really, really well. You can really, really network. And then there's other days that it's like they are after us hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. There's days where I get like 1,000 something, or maybe even more than that on a reel. And then there's other days it's like 200 views on a reel, or like on my live, like only 5 people watching it live, or versus like 20 people. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, and I evaluate myself, I evaluate the data. I'm like, what am I doing differently on those days? It's like nothing. It's random.
Yeah, it's not you. And I think that they're actively shadow banning us in that way. I often wonder if they're not just showing us a lower number on purpose.
Psychological warfare is part of social media anyways. There was a documentary not too long ago, I believe it was on Netflix, about how they manipulate the algorithm, as in these social media networks, to like basically get us addicted, and we get like a giant dopamine hit when we get likes, when we get a lot of views, and it keeps us addicted back on there. And then we have these lows, right, where we don't get as many views, and then we try like, oh, what do I need to do to get back those viewers, to get back those likes, whatever it is. And it's like this cycle, so it can be like addictive and unhealthy in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yesterday I went live on TikTok with Johan, and we were breaking down some of the charts of Ghislaine and Jeffrey and Tom Hanks and Hillary, and we were just talking about things that we were seeing, looking at the astrology where things were going to be hitting in their charts, and kind of making some predictions. And we had like 3 likes on the stream, like just 3, 4, maybe 6 was like it. And then all of a sudden I look and there's 900. And I was like, how does it go from 6 to 900? Oh, I bet they were trying to block the count.
Right.
We went up so we couldn't see, because he was like, nobody's seeing my stuff. I'm like, oh, trust me, they're seeing it. We're just not seeing it.
Yeah, they were trying to discourage you guys from, coming out with that information again. That's for sure. Because it's like they want this, like, the fluff information, the mainstream information, the mainstream narrative. They don't want anybody going against that.
Yes.
And a lot of us are going way against that because we're truth tellers. It's like light workers. What do? We shine a light on truth.
And sometimes the truth is ugly.
Yep. It sure is. It sure is. And, throughout the past couple of years, I've had to decide, like, how far do I want to go? Because I don't want to keep people up at night. I don't want to scare people, especially like with astrology. We have to be very careful. Do I want to skirt around the truth? No, but I don't want to scare people with some of the things that I'm seeing. Like right away when I saw North Node was going to go in Taurus with that Uranus conjunction that we're all living through now, I said, there's going to be natural resource issues. It's not just food, but it's going to be oil. I kept saying oil, oil, oil. Well, like what has happened with the gas prices this year and, with Ukraine and everything like that. And that's one of the reasons why, we have the oil prices are so high, is because of like the war in Ukraine. I don't want to get you booted off, Brooke.
Listen.
Here we go.
You don't know what all Johann skirts, so we are good.
Yeah. And, so we have that. And then of course, like, the Biden administration changed a lot of the rules about offshore drilling and whatnot. And, I love Mother Earth. I love Gaia. I want her to be preserved, but it is what it is. Like we do have higher gasoline prices, record gasoline prices this year. There's shortages, there's food shortages, and it's all over the planet. And I almost wonder, like, do these elites, they're like, okay, like, what do we do next? Like, okay, Bill Gates, like, how about we just take over farming because Uranus is going to be on the North Node in Taurus? Like, who knows what they're actually thinking of? But, we don't want to tell people like, you're going to be starving, you can't get gas for your car. It's like, how do we message this without scaring the shit out of people?
Right. Well, and it's almost becoming pretty obvious, they're being pretty straightforward with what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and the astrology supports it.
Yeah, it definitely does. It does. Like, when we had the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn, what happened December 2019? We all know because we're all still kind of going through it. Mm-hmm. And Pluto is going to leave Capricorn soon, ingress into Aquarius, and that will be early 2023. And, this whole time since 2008, Pluto and Capricorn, it's about these structures that these institutions have been falling down in front of our eyes. And yes, like people who are in charge of those institutions and benefit from those institutions are trying to hold on for dear life to keep those structures. But Pluto and Aquarius is going to be very different because this is going to be about technology and there's going to be a battle. It's going to be, again, I hate to say battle because I don't want to scare people with that word, but they're more of like a division between what's human and what's not human, because that's starting to become a little bit of a gray area. And as we progress in the Pluto and Aquarius years, there might be people who are more wholly human than others. We'll see what happens with that. That will be extremely interesting to witness as a collective.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to have Pluto in my 7th house.
Damn.
Right. So I'm like, how do I prepare for this?
It could be a good thing. I mean, remember, like Pluto, it destroys things and then it restores things. So like I always say, like Pluto's like a forest fire, everything gets restored eventually, and it's restored better than ever. It's more beautiful than ever. So like if you're having, I'm like exposing all your shit on here. Are you married right now?
I am not married. I am not dating. I'm just seeing what happens.
Okay, well, maybe you're going to actually go on the flip side of that. You're actually going to, go through a really transformative relationship.
Well, Brian and I were talking about Pluto moving into Aquarius at Don't Trip. And he was like, and what's interesting is my oldest twin has Capricorn on his ascendant, and I have Capricorn on my descendant.
Okay, we're flipping. My Capricorn's on my ascendant. Okay.
Yeah. So he's going through it on a personal level, like with him transforming me is kind of like, okay, my health, schedule, work, all that, because it's in the 6th house, moving into the 7th. And Brian goes, you're going to have a lot of men like wanting to date you. And I was like, whatever, Brian. Okay. As soon as I leave, like I'm in Oklahoma and random men are coming up to me spraying cologne on their business cards. And hey, will you call me? And I was like, Brian, did you like do some magic?
Yeah, did he like, yeah, he did some warlock shit.
Yeah. I'm like, there's shit everywhere.
It's exactly what I just said. So he knew it too. He knew it too. So like the closer that it moves into your 7th house, like it's going to be better for you. But like people who with, 7th house, Pluto and Aquarius, and they are married or they are in a relationship, it doesn't mean like the relationship's going to go to shit, but it means it's going to like have to transform. There's going to be some difficult bumps in the road for them in the area of relationships. Whereas for you, like if you don't have a relationship, you're probably going to come into one that's going to transform your life. That might not seem easy because you might have to make some adjustments to your own life to be in this relationship. Or it might just be like more mentally, like you have to adapt your expectations because the person that's coming in is like so much better than anything you ever, encountered before. And it's like, you have to mentally rewire for that.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can see that. Yeah. I mean, listen, I have not been in a serious relationship since 2012.
It's a while.
Yeah. And when I say serious long-term, like we were together for 15 months, really thought we were going to get married. I was like, this is it. I met the love of my life. He's amazing, yada, yada, yada. My kids loved him and he was ready to move in. Let's take it to the next step. And I still had so much that I needed to work on myself that I was like, this is moving way too fast.
Healing. You had to heal.
Yeah. So I took the time to heal and then started dating, I guess about 4 years ago, and was like, oh, I must not have done the work because I am not liking the men that I'm attracting. So still kind of dabbled in the dating scene, just kind of keeping my feet in there, but still focused on, okay, I need to make sure that I am where I want to be to attract the person that I want into my life. That's going to be a positive mirror.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, are you thinking twin flame or you're ready? You just need the soulmate at this point?
Well, as much as I've studied the twin flame journey, and I love that you brought that up because there's mixed opinions about the twin flame journey. We've got a lot of people out there that read cards, don't read astrology, and they're like, oh yeah, this is your twin flame. And it's toxic as hell.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a twin flame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really depends. I have met people and have actually went back and done the research. There has been people that's come into my life that I have that in the astrology. I have that in the programs with them. Do I see us coming together? Absolutely not. I just don't see it.
I feel you on that. I feel you because I feel like the twin flame could be so intense. It's like, especially like once you get past a certain age, like I'm 38, and it's like, who needs that? Like I feel like just soulmate, like somebody who's just like, I like that, like King of Cups, just like easy to go away. I'm not talking about a boring guy, but I'm just talking about someone who's not going to like bring drama into your life.
Yes.
It's like the drama is not fun anymore.
No.
Maybe it was like alluring and sexy, like in our teens, 20s, but like, it's like, no.
But I also feel like that's healing part of the dark feminine because to me, the dark feminine is really attracted to that type of energy.
Yeah. The fixer upper.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I am good.
Right.
Like, it got to a point that I was like, I've got 2 kids. I don't need a third. Like, meet halfway. We can do this together. We can be a team. I do not want somebody else that I have to take care of, and the energy exchange is unbalanced.
No, I feel that. Like, like I feel like there could be karmic twin flames. Karmic twin flames. There's karmic soulmates. There's karmic twin flames. I think that people have more than one twin flame.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Because like, if you think about like how DNA splits, because I don't know how you view the concept of twin flame, but it's like at one time you were the twin flame and you were actually inhabiting the same body and soul. But now, like, you know, just like how DNA splits, maybe it's split into 6 different pieces. I don't know. We just don't know. But that like mirroring, it could be too intense depending on like how much work they've done, how much work you've done. And if they haven't done their work and you've done their work and you want to like pull them up, and it's like almost like somebody who's like fallen into a well and they're pulling you up and they're like, I want to stay down here though. I want to kind of come up for a little bit, but I want to stay down here. That's karmic twin flame.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I agree. And I've definitely encountered that. And it gets to a point that it's like, okay, I love you. We obviously had a past life together, but this is not going to work in this life.
No, not this life, maybe next lifetime. And that's okay. Because you got to take care of yourself. You cannot, like you said, you absolutely cannot do the work for somebody else. Like in your own like ascension process, you can only do it for yourself. And that's giving me an example to other people. And yeah, it's going to help raise the vibrations of like everybody. That's a butterfly effect. Like when you raise your vibrations, you know, it raises the vibrations of the collective, but there's free will, and there's people who are not going to want to make that choice. They're going to want to like sink into whatever shadow, low vibe stuff that they do. And we can't do it for them.
No. And I've gotten really specific about the feeling. Like, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
You know, it feels safe. It feels comfortable. It feels exciting. It feels respectful. And, you know, really the last year I've been traveling, meeting with all kinds of people within the spiritual community, because I don't know how you feel about this, but I definitely want someone that's tapped in. You know, we're kind of on the same page. You know, we don't necessarily have to work together. I would love to work with my divine masculine. We don't have to, but there needs to be a common ground, a common understanding.
I completely agree. It's the values. Because the values like that shifts everything. And like we know that from the past, like 2.5, almost 3 years already. Like if you don't have common values with somebody, it could be like pure hell.
Yes.
I can't even imagine, like, yeah, you can have differences in other things, but the values aren't the same. It's gonna be like worse than you can ever imagine. Like now I'm thinking like, okay, if I'm like stuck with this person at home for however many months, like how am I going to live with this? Right?
Yeah. And, you know, we've gone through some of the worst case of gaslighting with our news. So it kind of makes me a little hyper focused when I'm, you know, interacting with men or talking to men, because those are things that I'm always like, as a divine feminine, I'm sure you would know, like we have to be extra careful, especially because of those people that wear beautiful masks, you know, that we think, oh, this is a good person. And then the gaslighting starts. And then the manipulation, pretending like they're spiritual, all that. So it's been interesting to navigate and kind of sit back in the shadows and just observe, and listen to what's being said about women, listen to what's being brought up about women, listen to different perspectives to get an idea collectively, where are the men? You know?
Yeah. I don't know if you listen to Rich Loop. He's a tarot reader.
I love him.
Yeah. You and him, I feel like we get along real well. He has a southern accent too.
Do you know, I started following him before he even really had a big following.
I love it. So you were like one of his first fans. I love it. So he always talks about like, I love him because he gives really good advice. He isn't just like channel and give the cards, but he's like very practical, which I appreciate as a Capricorn, like very practical. And always talks about 3 months. He's like, give it 3 months. He always says that.
I say the same thing too. 3 months, you can see everything that you need to see.
Yes, that's why I wonder what that is like, if there's like some other like deeper meaning to that, like astrologically or numerologically.
Well,
because
go ahead. It goes back to anybody can wear a mask for 3 months.
Yeah. I wonder like why it's 3 months, not like 6 months or 4 months, or it has to be 3 months.
At that point, people start becoming comfortable.
Yeah.
So once they start becoming comfortable, that mask comes off.
Yeah.
And it's been proven, especially with your empaths tend to attract narcissists. And I don't even like to open that door, and I don't even like to really put emphasis on that, but it's a dynamic, it's a lesson, it's just part of the journey. So for me, I attract very strong, dominant fire signs. We all know that the shadow of that can mirror those traits. And from what I found, 3 months is as long as they can wear the mask of I'm a good person.
That's true. It's absolutely true, because it's like whenever things go south, even in a platonic with another woman, it's like, okay, I see you now.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe there were red flags before, but it's so easy to dismiss.
Yes. Yes.
I see you.
Yes. And once they're not, I mean, they're just not able, like someone that truly has that, they're just not able to wear that mask for very long. They have to be who they are.
Yeah.
So it's a good rule of thumb. And I've had several relationships that I've been like, okay, we'll try this out. I give it a month, 2 months. I'm like, listen, we are not married. See you back. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that show, 90 Day Fiance. So, you know why it's like 90 days. 90 days only, 90-day contract, first 3 months of anything.
Yeah.
Love that. And I hope that, like, people out there who are a little bit younger get that, like 3 months, just give it 3 months.
Yeah.
No, we know.
Yeah. And a lot of my clients, that's my advice. I'm not saying fall head over heels in love with them in 3 months. I'm not saying do that, but keep an open heart long enough and keep your guard up enough to go, this is a trial. This is a trial period. I love Steve Harvey. Okay. I love Steve Harvey because, and I don't know if it was Straight Talk No Chaser or Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. He said, when you start working for a new company, you're on a probation period.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you not treat your relationships the same way? And I was like,
you don't go in all the way, you don't move in, nothing like that. It's like, okay, it's casual. I'm keep you an arm's distance. I don't care how you look, what it feels like, whatever. Because like, just like you said, it's like the mask comes off. I love Steve Harvey too. He is, I don't know, like something about how he delivers his message. I looked at his birth chart once, like, I know why he's like that. He's just like, he really speaks from the heart. And I appreciate that. And we need more divine masculines to speak from the heart like him, tell it like it is, and watch out for women, especially younger women who don't know what the hell's going on. We need more of that. We need more Rich Loops and Steve Harveys in the world. And the side note, Steve Harvey and I share a birthday, obviously not the same year, but we're both 26-degree Capricorns, January 17th.
I love it. And my Venus sits right on your sun.
Oh, perfect. Well, that makes sense. It's why we're like getting along so well. Harmony right here.
Yes, my Venus sits right on your sun. I love it. I love it. 26 degrees. Pluto has had a lot of fun with my Venus. I'm ready for that transit to be done.
Me too. I feel you. I feel you. Like you probably, your job's changed. I know your job has changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yours has too.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk about that.
Okay. So let's talk about that. It's like, should you talk first or I'll talk first? Okay. So, well, I taught in public schools for 13 years. I was a special education teacher with a specialty in English language arts. So I mainly worked in high schools. There was a 3-year period where I worked internationally in Taiwan, which was really cool. And I taught at an American school there. So basically what it is like people who have foreign passports send their kids to school there. They could be Canadian, they could be Australian, they could be Japanese, but the kids learned in English. Their English, everything was taught in English, math, science, everything. It was English language instruction. So that was really cool. It was a very different experience and helped me learn like the geopolitical situation with Taiwan and China a lot more and get familiar with it. But so the other schools that I worked at, and even the last school I worked at were very inner city based. So It was not the easiest job, but I felt like it was very rewarding. I always liked astrology, you know, it was my passion was astrology, tarot. I felt very intuitive, but I was kind of afraid because, you know, I grew up very religious. I would say more, it wasn't that we were worshiping more, it was more like the connotation behind it. And then my husband, his family, very evangelical. So of course, like astrology, sin, devil, bad, you know, it's satanic. So when the pandemic occurred, you know, it threw us all out to, you know, online learning. And I was kind of thinking about getting out for a while just because things were getting like more and more violent. And
where exactly are you located?
I'm in Michigan. I'm in the western part of Michigan. So it was getting like, it's like 2 hours from Chicago is where I live.
Okay, yeah. So you're close enough to see a lot of what was going on.
Yeah, exactly. So like there was like a lot of violence and whatever. And I was like, okay, like, well, at least we're going online because now I can't like, I'm not gonna be afraid of like my head being bashed in by a football player. Like that was like, you know, I shouldn't have to make that calculation anymore. Like, am I going to, you know, die on the job and I'm not working, you know, like, you know, a construction project where I'm in a top of a 30-story building. So, you know, slowly but surely, like I started watching Steve Judd. I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Judd. He's an English astrologer. He's like in his 70s. He's very old school. And they reignited my love for astrology. I'm like, gosh, this is like all this stuff that I saw in the charts. It's like they're seeing it too. It's like, you know, maybe I should start doing this, you know, side hustle because I have time now. My stress levels down because I'm at home and the threat of getting beat to shit isn't there. So I started my Instagram platform, and slowly but surely, like I just decided like, okay, let's just do this. I quit my job, February 2021, I put in my resignation for the end of the school year. I just felt like I need to do it then. Like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. You know, just like, you got to do it. When like the intuitive hit comes, when the download comes, I just did it. And this is my main primary source income now. Like, I love it. Like helping people with their birth charts, with the relationship compatibility charts, doing moon readings for them, whatever it is, like that lights up my soul because I'm lighting up their soul. I'm reactivating something ancient within them. And I would never go back to the schools because public schools right now, even though my daughter goes to public school, there's a lot of parameters that weren't there even when I started out, which wasn't that long ago. And especially with a lot of like the mainstream narratives right now, I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable teaching those things. I feel like I'm more like a robot. But I am teaching astrology classes now, tarot classes, Starseed astrology classes, twin flame classes, like all that stuff. Like I love it. And like, this is my divine purpose. And if I can, you know, at 36 years old, you know, that was my nodal return, like go back into my divine purpose. And I'm not saying like teaching school was a mistake. It was not a mistake. It was character building. And I definitely don't regret, you know, being with those kids and helping them out, because I know teaching is so important, but it was no longer for me.
Well, it was no longer for 2 million Americans because there was that many withdraw from the public school system this year.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just you that's seeing it, you know, it's everybody. I begged my kids, let's just homeschool. We can travel. We can do this. We can do that. Y'all can learn a lot more. And they were like, no, we worked too hard. And they had to walk away and do homeschool. So, you know, them being young adults, what can I say?
Right. Exactly. And, you know, they need it for their social life. I understand that. And there needs to be more options. Like there needs to be more consensus in the communities now, because it seems like communities aren't being listened to. I mean, think about like the FBI will come investigate people at school board meetings now. You know, you've heard about this, right?
Oh,
Yeah, like people who are at school board meetings that are protesting school board meetings are like, a lot of them are being investigated by the FBI. It's like, I think the Biden administration, and I don't want to be quoted on this because I know I'm not getting it exactly right, but it's something about like they are being investigated. Like they can go on an investigation list if they're, you know, going in there and basically boycotting what the school board is doing. And that's been going on, you know, because of all the restrictions that went on for way too long during the virus. And then a lot of the CRT that a lot of parents don't agree with, and some of the ways sex ed is being taught to some of the kids, the parents don't agree with. So there's just a lot, like parent input needs to be there. It absolutely needs to be there. And I'm not saying like I disagree, you know, with everything, but I'm saying there has to be input from the community. And if the input isn't there, then like they're serving the community. So then who are they serving? Think about that.
right. Well, I mean, I see it as an indoctrination,
Yeah,
you know.
me too.
Yeah. And my best friend and I, you know, her son is like 4 or 5 years older than my boy. So he's a junior in college. He's a pilot, you know, very, very, very smart young man. And her and I have watched the difference between No Child Left Behind versus prior to that program starting, and really just seeing just such a big difference in what the kids are being taught, how they are, you know, it's
the behaviors are terrible, Brooke. That's the thing. The behaviors are terrible. Part of it is, you know, a lot of fights start in social media, and then like we don't know, because the cues that we would see in their faces and their conversations are gone, because all these things are taking place behind a computer or behind a phone at home, or, you know, somewhere between passing periods. So there's a lot of that. And then it's just a lot of the content isn't as accessible anymore. Like the Common Core math, like I can't figure out Common Core math. Like I'm like, what am I looking at? How is this? So it's just, there's a lot of stuff that like, it's unpopular opinion, but I think that a lot of people that you listen to or your listeners here will agree with, like, part of it is that it's kind of like a conspiracy to make this country and other Western countries stupider. So other countries like China, for example, their students are smarter. And if you have smarter students from those countries, eventually those countries are going to become stronger, and our country's not going to thrive as much.
right. Well, I mean, I think we've definitely been hit from the inside.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's money. It's money talks. It's all corruption, because these organizations are definitely being funded by, as you know, Alex Jones would say, chai cons. Yeah, they're being funded. Like the school district I used to work for, all the administrators, I don't know if they do it anymore since the virus, but they would all go for 3 weeks during the summer to China.
Oh, wow.
It was a fully paid trip. The Chinese would pay for them. The Chinese government would pay for them to go to China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, right before we were shut down, my very last hair client behind the chair in my shop was a biology student at UT. And she was letting me know that there was a Chinese professor that was working for UT that had just been arrested for selling information from the biology department, because that's the department they're in, okay, working with the Chinese government. Now, keep in mind, this is where it starts getting a little interesting. Guess where our national bio lab's at?
It's at UT, Austin. Yeah.
Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Okay. UT, Tennessee. Okay. You're in Tennessee.
Yeah.
First second, Austin.
So where this where this professor was fired, like all the connections, it was all there. Like, how crazy is that? Like, there was inside people working just 2 miles down the road from me.
It's crazy. Well, you know, where this is made, I know I can't say it or else they'll take down your channel, is 2-3 miles down the road from me.
Oh, wow.
That's where I live.
Well, I will say the hospital did all of the trials, all of that. They're actually discussing doing Ebola trials.
Oh, wow.
Which will be a nightmare. Like, this will be a nightmare if that happens.
Yeah.
I still have pretty strong connections within the hospital that kind of keeps me up to date with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I will say this, they did not enforce any of their employees to do this.
Very interesting.
None of them.
Because then they wouldn't have staff, capable staff.
I want to say there was like 48% was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And then there was 52% that was like, no.
Yeah. Well, there's no longitudinal study. That's why, like, you know, the average time is like 7 years is the study. So like, you force something through within 6 months, like, no. And just no, just no.
Yeah, I'm with you. 100%. Yeah. And what's scary is I have been seeing, I don't know if you've noticed this, but they're going to start bringing, I guess, people to do this within the schools. And if your child is there that day, it's considered consent. Now, in the state of Tennessee, a child can make their own medical decisions at the age of 16. I have to have permission from my teenage boys to even see their medical records.
That's insane. That's insane. Wow. It's crazy. Well, they can't even vote. Wow. It's like, wow. Like, I heard in states, like I heard in New York, they were like bribing the kids with pizza. And they took the consent from the parents away. And just like, you know, any 7-year-old, even my 11-year-old, like pizza, okay. Like, I want, you know, I don't want to be the only one not eating pizza. It's so horrible. It's just so horrible. Like, you have to be very, very careful with these things.
Yeah, and it's scary because I've educated my kids. Like, I don't ever hold anything back from them. Jacob's very aware. You know, they had several baseball players get it, and now they have heart problems.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Jacob's kind of like, I don't want it. You know, Luke, on the other hand, still like, oh, that's not true. Like, he doesn't want to believe it. But Jacob's like, there is no way you're putting that stuff in me. And I'm so grateful that he's gotten to that decision on his own.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing. It means he's thinking critically. That's the one thing that scares me, to be honest. And I hate to use the word scares, but concerns me about Pluto and Aquarius is I feel like we're going to have some kind of, you know, like Black Mirror, almost like predictive programming for us, like this social credit score where everything's going to be, you know, about like, what did you get? What kind of procedures did you get? And what's your history, and so on and so forth.
Right. Well, I mean, that kind of goes with the 2030 agenda. Have you read that?
I've seen it. Yeah.
And as time passes, at first I was like, oh, no, this is, you know, but I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to take notes. Let's just see what happens. And as time passes, it's kind of like, no, that is the agenda. You can see it. It's right there. Everything is playing out just as.
You know what? I'm not even scared because it just seems like just because it's a plan doesn't mean it's going to happen.
I agree.
You know, and that's the thing, like, people get very scared, and that's why I stopped listening to so much news, because, you know, it doesn't even matter if it's like a right right-wing commentator or, you know, more libertarian kind of commentator, because there's just so much fear associated with like, this is the cabal, these awful people, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to give my energy to them, because that's what they're like, energy vampires. They're looking for our energy, our attention to fuel them. And then we actually submit, we surrender, because people are so fearful of what's going to happen next to them that they just surrender to whatever plan is going on. And that's why, like, when, you know, I think it was like 6 months ago or something, people are talking about like, okay, like if this and this happens, I forgot exactly what it was, like, let's just, you know, stock up on a bunch of food and like basically like have a bunker, you know. It's like, no, because like that's giving into that dark agenda. Like, we're just gonna live underground like mole people. Like, that's disgusting. Like, Mother Gaia is meant to be enjoyed. Like, we need the sunlight. That's like, I'm not succumbing to this evil agenda. And a lot of people who are like, you know, listening to the same kind of things we do, or even believe in the same kind of things we do, they're succumbing to the evil agenda by focusing on how they're going to survive the solar flash, or, you know, this cabal takeover or whatever. It's like, how you're going to survive is by not succumbing and putting your energy into being in survival mode. Think about how you're going to thrive, how you're going to live your life in 5D while being a 3D person.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. My biggest thing has just really been trying to educate the children. You know, they're the easiest to be persuaded,
right,
and manipulated and led down the wrong path. And that's, you know, watching what has happened, taking parents' rights away, things like that. That was all intentional to be able to manipulate.
Well, children are easily programmable, right? Because their brains are very open. You know, I think they're in theta state until like they're 3 years old. I believe that's what it's called. Like, in their brains, they're basically like in almost like a dream state. And then, you know, the most programming goes on between 0 and 3. It's why it's like, you have to be so careful what you show your kids on TV and everything. Like, you know, Elmo is different than how Elmo used to be when we were kids.
Right.
Yeah. So we have to be very careful, like what we expose kids to, like books and everything. It's like, that's why it's so important for kids to be like held at that age and have attention and love, because that's when that's when all the brain synapses are formed during 0 and 3. And after that too, it's like, there's so much programming, you know, their minds are open in elementary school. By the time they're like in middle school, like they have more critical thinking skills, but children are, you know, extremely malleable, extremely impressionable.
Yeah. And seeing that many people have gone to homeschooling, it gives me hope. It gives me hope that, hey, you know, 2 million people, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. And you can't say 2 million families are fringe families, because there was already people homeschooling. There are already people not in public schools. So something happened. I mean, I homeschooled my daughter for a year when this happened, and I'm not a fringe person at all. Like, I'm like, I want her to socialize. I don't want her sheltered. But it just shows like new earth is actually happening, because people are starting to wake up, and we can actually start collectivizing. And that's what Pluto and Aquarius is all about too. It's the age of Aquarius. It's about collectivizing and starting different institutions, if you will. And they're not going to be these giant institutions. They're going to be smaller, like almost tribal institutions. That's what I'm thinking. You know, like that's what Pluto and Capricorn is demolishing. These long-standing giant corporations and institutions.
Yes, I agree. I could definitely foresee, I don't want to call it wizard school, but I mean, it kind of would be, right? Bringing children in and, you know, teaching them their birth chart, teaching them their human design, teaching them how they're divinely made. Because when I first started diving into my birth chart, I was like, holy shit. I'm not crazy.
No.
This is like really like what I thought. It's true, because here it is. It's in my chart.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can trust me. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Imagine how validating that would be too. And then, if other kids in the class, like they knew each other's birth charts, they're like, okay, well, her Mars is in Aries. That's why she gets angry sometimes.
Right?
It's like you have more understanding. And like that's actually my dream. That's part of my dream is like with the mystic arts org, like if we were actually able to expand into going into the schools, like, new earth schools, like having the funding, like I would go in like once a week to, all these different classes and like teach astrology, or maybe twice a week. It's not like I'd be like the main teacher of like, I teach first grade,
I
but
love
I'm
it.
gonna go teach first graders, this about astrology, and then second graders and so on and so forth. Kind of like, like the specials teacher that roams
Uh-huh.
around, like music teacher or whatever. Like I would absolutely love that would be in schools.
Uh-huh.
And definitely needed. Definitely needed.
Yes,
I
I
think we're
agree.
gonna see it. It's becoming more mainstream now.
Yes, yes. And human design too.
Mhm.
Like, I think that's been the biggest aha for me because I've not really dabbled much into human design
Yeah.
until the last 6 weeks, I guess, when
Oh, you're a newbie.
like I've looked at it, I've got the
Yeah.
chart, like I got the programs, but I've not sat down and been like, okay, what does it really mean?
Yeah. I'm a beginner in that too. It's just
Mhm.
there's so much going on with that. I haven't had like the time to study it. What are you? Are you a manifesting projector? What are you?
I am a 5-1 pure generator.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
I'm finding that 5-1s, there's not a lot of us.
Okay, so break that down. What does that mean? 5-1 pure generator. I know, I kind of know, but like for
I
people
am a heretic investigator.
that makes sense.
Yes. And I'm like, well, that kind of goes with my sun and the moon in the 8th. Like I will investigate until I'm like, okay, I've got all that I need. I'm making my decision and this is what I'm going with. I can get stuck in investigation mode and not want to move forward. I need more, I need more, I need more. So I'm learning how to balance that. But I'm also a mirror. So I mirror everybody's energy that comes towards
Wow.
me. And that's part of the 5-1-2 is, a lot of people project.
Mhm.
I want you to do this for me. I want you to do
Yeah.
that for me.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting learning that, okay, my need to step up and give myself a voice and to stand firm in what I've researched and what I know and not let anybody's projections persuade me has been a big lesson that I've had to learn, but also standing up and giving myself just a voice, period.
That's so important. Boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Boundaries. And like, do you have a closed throat chakra on that
No.
design?
No, it's like I'm fully open.
Yeah.
Fully open, except my sacral and my spleen.
Your spleen. Okay, so you're opposite of me then. That's the most open part. So I'm a 1-3 pure generator, and it's like this spiritual, what is it called? Not investigator, it's something else. Like they on this one website shows a picture of Doc from Back to the Future. It's like the experimenter, the spiritual experimenter. I think that's what it's called.
Uh-huh.
And it's like really, it's like that's the truth. It's like the whole like you gotta fuck around and find out kind of thing. Like
Yeah,
I need to know. Like it's more than just like reading about it. I'm like, well,
I gotta test it out.
yeah, even if this ends badly, like I want to see how this is, and like okay, well, I didn't like that was okay, but I tried it. So it's like I think that part maybe of my Sagittarius stellium in my 12th
Uh-huh.
house, and I have Sagittarius in my 11th too. It's my South Node conjunction Uranus in my 11th in Sag, and then I have 3 other planets.
Oh wow.
4 other planets in Sag, I believe, in my 12th. And it's like Sag needs to know. Sag needs to try.
Yes.
Sag can't just sit around and wait for something to happen. We try. We go ahead and we have to feel it out in the real world. So knowing that made me feel better about myself. saying and boosting my self-esteem, because just like you were saying, like, I'm not crazy. Like, this is part of who I am and it cannot be denied. I cannot just sit on the sidelines, and I'm meant to actually participate in life.
Yes. My biggest aha was, I have an open root center. So with that open root center, which it's a little conflicting. I'm still trying to understand this, but with that open root center, I feel more comfortable when my counterpart makes big decisions for me.
That makes sense, because you're open to receiving.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, this makes sense as to why I've ever made any big decisions myself. I go into full-blown panic attack. I feel like I can't. I need that reassurance that, hey, this is okay. This is a good decision. And I need to be able to trust where that's coming from. And if I don't have that, it's like, I can't make it. And that was such a big eye opener for me, because I was like, no wonder I have extreme panic attacks over this. It all makes sense because it goes against my human design.
Right. It does. You have Libra placements.
Stellium in Libra.
See, that's what it is. Because Libra needs that other person or, someone else to kind of like reassure them. Yeah. What house is it in?
The 4th house.
Oh, makes sense. That's your root. The 4th house is the root of the chart. That's how I explain astrology. I'm like, the bottom of the chart, it's like the roots of a tree, and the top is what you see. It's the leaves. So there you go. Yeah. Okay. Have you gone to a human design workshop? Because if you find one, we should go together. That would be great.
Well, Dylan just started one, and I'd love to check into it. I know it's going on for the next several weeks. So I don't know if you can jump in.
I don't know. You'll have to send it to me. I don't know who Dylan is. I feel bad. I'm like, who's Dylan?
He is working with David.
Oh, is he the man with the beard? Oh, the beard man. Okay. Yeah, I can't keep up with everything. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Beard. Okay.
Yes, that's Dylan. And so far, he's extremely knowledgeable. Like, you can even run compatible charts with that.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
And it'll tell you the gates that open up when you walk in.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to start studying this whenever I have a free moment, whenever that is. That's amazing. Like, I feel like human design is going to be, we have astrology, we have numerology, and now this is just like that extra layer there that it's like almost like modernized from all this ancient knowledge. And definitely going to learn it. That's my next goal for learning. I mean, it's Virgo season. Time to learn.
Right. Yeah. I'll have to send you his, well, hold on just a second.
Okay.
His Instagram is Human Design Maven. Yes. Human Design Maven. And he posts some pretty awesome stuff, about being a 5th line, a 1 line, having, the centers open or closed. And for me, just going through his Instagram, it was like taking a mini workshop without taking one, because I learned so much just reading about those. Now, gene keys is definitely something that I would love to dive into. And it's not as detailed as human design, but they all kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. I feel like I need to go on Amazon and just get some books after this. It'd be amazing. Okay, well, now I know what I'm going to learn next. It's so cool. Tamara Jean from High Vibe, she's amazing, by the way. Have you ever met her in person?
In person, no. Okay. I'd love to.
I feel like you get along real well. I feel that. Yeah. And she has a lot of Libra in her chart too. That's all I'll say, because I can't give out more information than that. But I feel like you and her would just click.
Yeah. She's a Cancer.
Yeah, but I feel like she's Libra in her chart too somewhere.
Anyways. And I'm a Cancer rising, so I tend to
okay.
get along really well with Cancers. Yeah.
Okay. anyways, but you and her get along really well, but she did my human design for me. And I was like, wow, like this is just like, I was like floored. It was like one of the best readings I've ever had in my whole life because it was so detailed and personal. Like an astrology reading, yeah, it's detailed and personal, but this was like a whole other level of, you know, like, because we're both generators, we get this, if like, we can't do something if it's not interesting to us. It's like the focus isn't there. Or if we try, it's like, we're going to lose it real quickly. It's kind of like, I'm sure you, like when we were in school, if the subject didn't interest you, you try really hard, but maybe you still get like a C. That's kind of how it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My teachers were always like, she talks too much. Well, it's because I'm not interested. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it makes sense. Like, it's fun to talk to people. I think it's why we both do the work that we do. And you know, like you were doing, you know, beauty before, and beauty is something that makes people feel better. And you get to, you know, connect with them on a personal level. You're like almost like a therapist in some ways. And at the end, they look better than they arrived. And then like for me being a teacher, you know, talking, you know, expanding minds and expanding consciousness. So we're both doing the same thing now in a way. We're just not, it's not the same environment, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I was a hair teacher for about 3 years.
I love that. We're both teachers.
Yeah, at Paul Mitchell to school. And it was a lot of fun. My favorite week to teach was Culture Week because it really went hand in hand with my spirituality.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love Paul Mitchell. I love the Awapuish. It's like a love topic. I remember like my mom gave me like a sample when I was like in 3rd grade. I was like, I feel like a famous movie star now. So like now, like that's like my idea of luxury. You know, it's like, oh, it's luxury. I don't use that now, but use Pureology. For those of you who want to know, you probably use like a really good shampoo too, because your hair, you know, the red hair color. Yeah. Yeah. What do you use?
I recently got Behave.
Oh yeah, from Bean. I love her. She's so fun. You probably met her at the Don't Trip, right? Yeah. She asked me, she's like, when are you gonna come out? I'm like, I don't know, but I feel like I want to do a women's retreat. I'm going to do a lot of spiritual retreats, but I'm trying to manifest a retreat, and we'll see what happens. But
well, if you do, I know the perfect location hidden in the Smoky Mountains that can house about 25 people in one of their buildings. And it's a great spot. I actually wanted to host one there. And being in Tennessee, it's pretty centralized for Florida, New York, whatever. Everybody can kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And that was
like fly into like, what is it? Like Knoxville? Is that what it's pretty close by? Yeah. I was in that area a couple of years ago. I went to Gatlinburg. It's like, you know,
this is tucked away in the Smoky Mountains, not too far from there.
Okay. Yeah. It was like Las Vegas for children.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, without the alcohol and the slot machines.
Yeah, it was a lot of buttery foods. I'm like, I don't know if I want to come back here for this, but I'll like, we did some hikes and it was gorgeous. So definitely, we'll keep in touch about it. Like, it's a really nice area. Yeah,
and the fall is really pretty. I worked at Blackberry Farms in Wallen. So this is at the base of the Smoky Mountains as well, kind of right, I'd say 30-minute drive through the mountains to get to Gatlinburg, where you were talking about. And our clientele was country music singers, movie producers. Like, we had people from Hollywood there all the time. You just never knew who was going to walk through the door.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I embarrassed myself to death though, because I'm a Pisces, so I've never really paid attention to famous people. Oh, you're famous, so what? You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of
embarrassing, because it actually makes your job easier because you're not starstruck.
Well, until somebody's like, hey, do you know where my wife is? And I'm like, well, what's the name on the account so I can look up to see? And he looks at me shocked, like, you don't know who I am? And he's like, well, my name is Brian, Luke Bryan. I turned blood red because I'm like, how did I not know that this was Luke Bryan? And
I wouldn't know that either.
Come to find out, I had his wife.
Oh, okay. So, but I'm still telling you, I think it makes things easier because you don't have like these expectations of people and but yeah, all of your water was like, well, I just treat everybody the same.
I know. And one of my students wanted to come work with us, and she was like, I look up to all the Victoria's Secret models. There's no way I could come work and have one in my chair. And I was like, well, I've never had one. And the girl working with me was like, are you blind? You've already had 3. I was like, oh.
It's so funny. I love that. I love that. Yeah. That little part of the country is just so beautiful, and it's so peaceful. And it's like, I felt like when I was there, minus like the food that I should not have partaken of because I have a very, very sensitive stomach. Anyways, yeah, I have like, I don't know, I have to eat like very pure, but that it was just so resetting. Like I felt like when I came back here to Michigan, I felt incredibly reset.
Yeah, it's very grounding. And it's to me, I consider it very sacred land because that was the Indians' land, especially the Cherokee Indians. There's a couple of other tribes that were specifically to that area, but it's very grounding.
It is. The bears, I mean, like just seeing those bears just like randomly walk around, it's like they're not afraid of anything. And that bear spirit is something we all need right now, isn't it?
Yes, especially Mama Bear, you know?
Yeah. I love that. I really like spending like this time with you. It just felt like talking to like, you know, like a girlfriend, you know, getting a coffee or tea or whatever.
I know. I'm so happy that we did this. Thank you.
Oh, me too. I'll have to do it again. Maybe you'll be on my show next.
Yes, I'd love to.
Yeah, I have a show on my YouTube channel, Mystic Arts TV. It's called Siren Song, and my friend Beth Ann and I, and we decided we're twin souls. We're not twin flames. The psychic told us we're twin flames. I'm like, no.
See, I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. And I do believe that we can have it in women too, and even men. Yes.
Yeah. So we're very much alike. She says, you're the blonde me. That's what she says. And we even like at our cycles at the same time. It's crazy. But we're very much connected. So we bring all sorts of different people on our shows, all sorts of different spiritual people, men, women, everybody. And we just like to hear everyone's different perspectives. So I love to have you on about your Reiki journey, and just your journey in spirituality and like whatever else you want to talk about. It would be amazing.
Yes, let's do it. All right. So if anybody is looking to schedule a reading with you, let me pull this up. I want to make sure I get the website correct.
Sounds like someone's knocking at your door.
Somebody is knocking at the door. Okay. It is saraastrology.com.
SaraAshleyAstrology.com. Yeah. So it's my name, Sara, there's no H there, just SaraAshleyAstrology.com. And if you would like to take a class taught by me or any of my soul tribe, you can go to mysticarts.org. It's themysticarts.org. And I teach astrology on there. I teach different levels of astrology. So even if you are a beginner, then you are definitely welcome. Or if you're somebody who's more advanced, I have classes for that too. So I love to be there.
I love it. All right, sister. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and your beautiful wisdom and your energy. It has been absolutely lovely to connect.
Yes, lovely to connect with you too. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.